All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone. Meeting 13 for the Cybersecurity Advisory Council. See what we have for an agenda today. So review the November meetings, recap and any corrections. We have an annual report we need to review and approve. Needs to be into the legislature. We're looking to get sector-specific updates from the council members that are working in that area. I'll go over any recent coordinator activities for myself related to the council, and then we'll open it up to those that are not council members to any ideas, suggestions, feedback, thoughts that they may have. And then an open discussion item for any others, and then we will adjourn. It's important to note for those that are may have been following along for the first 2 years, the council met every other month. At our last meeting, we changed to be meeting quarterly. So this is the first of 4 meetings for calendar year 26. But in order to make sure we have enough time, the meeting has been extended to 2 hours. So this is as much to help the working groups related to the specifics. Each individual sector have opportunity to work more in between the meetings. Secretary Riley Hughes will likely be joining us for the second half. She is over at the State House testifying budget stuff as we speak. So hopefully we'll see her afterwards. If not, she said I get to represent her. So I am her proxy for today. I don't have anybody in the room with me today, so as I'm admitting people, I'll have to pause. If we don't have any questions on the agenda, or if you do have questions, please just raise your hand or go ahead and speak. We do have good attendance today. We're at 31 people, so that is excellent. Welcome to those that are new or not council members. So let's review. So just for the council members, any review, comments, edits related to meeting 12, clarifications, the recap that is on the website? I'll just pause there for a minute. Raise your hand or go ahead and speak out if you have any corrections. Hearing none, or if something comes to mind, please feel free to put it in the chat or follow up with me. Moving along. All right, so the bulk of today's, there's Joe Duncan. Hi, Joe. We just got started, and did you have any updates, changes, or anything specific to the recap or notes from the November meeting? Changes, or are you good?
Good, thank you.
Perfect. All right. The bulk of today's meeting is to walk through our statutorily required annual report for any final edits, and approve whatever edits we make so that it can be submitted to the legislature later today. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and bring the annual report up. Can everybody see that all right?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm just going to step down through it. So updated to this year's annual report, it carries today's date. I'll pause at the executive summary for the council members. Was there any changes, updates, edits that members would like to have reflected in the annual report for the executive summary? Stop there for a second and let folks think. James.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the level of granularity you want in feedback, but I just had two tiny kind of editing suggestions.
Sure.
One on the phrase "one size fits all." I think it might read a little more cleanly if either that phrase is in quotes or if it's like a hyphenated, one hyphen size hyphen fits hyphen all. Just because otherwise it caused me to stumble at least on reading it a little.
Yeah. Something like to that where we quote it. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. I struggled with that too, but I didn't know, I couldn't come up with other alternative phrasing to get the same point across. So thank you.
Yeah. And then in the second to last paragraph there, that second sentence, the "to be effective" sentence, that just reads a little confusingly to me. I might have a comma after effective, and I kind of think it seems like two sentences, like it should be a period after sectors and included being a new sentence.
So we're something to. So let's see, something to that effect. To be effective. Yeah, it was a pretty good run on my part. So I like that. That seems to make it a little clearer. Thank you.
No problem.
You capitalize sectors in the first critical infrastructure section and not in the second, since we're getting at that level.
Oh no. Yep. That's the level I need. So you're talking up here, we have it.
Yeah, you have it capitalized there, but down below you didn't have it, just the word sectors.
Yeah. Yeah. Should be consistent. Thank you. Any other comments, suggestions, feedback from folks?
Hey, Sean, I know it's all in the write-up. But my view is nobody reads beyond the executive summary if they even get to the executive summary. So thanks for all the writing. We may be the only people that read this entire thing, but I read it. It seemed to me one of my takeaways in the very final piece of the details of the strategic plan. It seemed like that of all the stuff that's in here, right? There's some good information in the exec summary with some key stuff like adding the interest groups and stuff like that. But it seems like the strategic plan is the key to all this. And it seemed like one of the key takeaways for me from the strategic plan was the concept of a tiered approach. I didn't know if that was worth mentioning in the executive summary, because it's sort of the concept of trying to meet people where they are and offer assistance across those levels seemed like a key takeaway from this for me. I toss it out there, take it or leave it. I don't necessarily need to see it there, but it seems like I don't know anyone gets past this, and if they get to the strategic plan, it just seems like the core of what we need. The bottom line up front stuff isn't really there. Like the strategic plan is all the way at the back, and that's really kind of where the rubber hits the road. But
Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. And I'm open to adding phrasing to summarize my thinking when I drafted this was that the strategic plan was actually part of last year's annual report, and we didn't change it at all this year, right? So it was just kept in here as a carry forward to remind folks so they didn't have to go back and look at it. So I was struggling with if I gave it attention in the executive summary, was it like implying that we had changed it or it was something new about it? And so that was one of the internal debates I had in my head.
yeah, no, I hear you. I'm with you on it, and that's kind of why I sort of was like, take it or leave it. But it,
Yep.
You're also assuming that people who had this from last year read it, or that people who are reading it are familiar with last year's. So,
Well, in fairness, we had a call to action to the legislature for expanding the membership last year, of which no one from the State House asked about. So your assumption that they didn't read, if they read it, it never got past the executive summary is likely accurate.
Yeah.
So
anyways, just a suggestion.
So, all right, we've got time. Let's jump ahead to that strategic plan. Bear with me as I quickly scroll down. We'll pick back up, but so was there something, I know you kind of referenced a couple of statements in here. Is there something that you think it would be a good summary? Like the second paragraph?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri wants to participate.
Oh, well, let's have AI do it. Yeah, it was a second paragraph, maybe some combination of the first, but primarily the second. That the strategic plan basically tries to, there's different levels of maturity, and the goal is to try and meet people where they are in those different levels. Yeah, but it's something basic like that.
So I'll bring it back up here and then we'll see if others want to weigh in on if this. Right, so adding something in like this to.
I mean, when I talk to anybody about sort of what the council has found and where it's sort of going, it definitely, and especially in the water wastewater world, you're talking about a diverse group of people at different stages and different levels of needs, and there isn't going to be a one size fits all solution to this.
So does that kind of, because I realize that the paragraph didn't quite stand alone, right? So the goal of the strategic plan is to meet organizations. And then it outlines the 3 tiers. Yeah, I'm good with bringing that forward and including that in the executive summary in case they don't go past this. Does anybody have any other thoughts one way or the other? Thank you, Joe. Good feedback. Hearing none or seeing no hand raises from any council members, I'm going to assume that we're good with that edit, and I'll move on to the next section. We can always come back if you have thoughts on it or want to revisit it. Enabling legislation, this is just carrying forward, reminding legislative members of the background and the why behind and what the mission is of the council. Summarized, it's not all of the legislation. I believe I updated membership to reflect current members. trying to think of who's probably Ryan McLiberty, I think is the most recent. And then also Lieutenant Colonel Gallipo, whether or not you are or not, I changed you to being the designee instead of carrying the adjutant general in that role. Since I know he's joined since one of the first couple of meetings. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. All right, so now we're getting into the meat of it, which is kind of like think of this as I say activities, but the accomplishments for the previous calendar year. I'm trying to think. I can't see what it was now, but 36, right? For the first probably year and a half. Attendance of guests or visitors was like a couple at best for these meetings. Now we're seeing 36 attendees, including the council, which is outstanding. Shout out to those that are taking time to join us. Trying to stay abreast of this, the work of the council. Just kind of reflected, that attendance is growing, and hopefully that demonstrates both interest and kind of the importance of the work that we're undertaking here. I added this outreach section based on discussions at the November meeting. I think it was Eric Foran brought it up, right? That I have served in like a capacity to go out and do presentations, answer questions, and kind of represent the council in general at certain either events, meetings, or we're invited. And that we should be, both the council should be made aware of it, and that we should be capturing that stuff. So I went back through my calendar for 2025. This represents the significant places that I spoke about the council. It does not reflect any other council members' activities. So I would be glad to expand this or add to it if there are any of the council members that have items that they want to add to this, presentations, things like that. But I'll pause there for a second, let folks read through that, see if there's anything that they want to add to it.
Don, I spoke to representatives I went to the Senate here in DC in June, I believe, and spoke to members of the Senate, or maybe July. I'll have to look at the date.
Okay. I'll put it in as June.
You just check out
Was that a presentation or more a question and answer?
it was I was asked to be to testify in support of the renewal of CISA. It was July 23rd.
Right, you said it was related to the renewal of CISA?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, JT, for both doing that and including that. Any others that people spoke to about this, about the work of the council or anything that isn't represented here? I know like Erica, the October meeting of the electric utilities where we spoke. So,
Yep, that was October. Bill Jordan is on the call. We're looking at scheduling one in the spring. I don't think we've settled on a date.
okay. Well, we can, we'll include that when we do the sector updates. So, cool. All right, I'm gonna keep going. If folks have something that they want to have added to that, let me know before the end of the meeting. Post it in the chat or raise your hand or speak up. Next item that I included was the letter last year that it was March, that the council put forth to the money committees in the House and Senate supporting a public safety budget request for the matching funds for the state and local cybersecurity grant program, which they did get the money. And so we're working through that now. Any questions on that entry or comments? Okay. Next one was to try to capture the kind of the determination of the council, right? That one size fits all, that understanding critical infrastructure sectors collectively. We'd kind of gone as far as we could, and that the work moving forward would best benefit organizations if it was sector specific, right? Where hospital needs may not be in the same places that water and wastewater could benefit, right, from prioritized improvements, or maybe different than dams or first responders, emergency services, or financial, or any of the other sectors. So we've taken a critical infrastructure sector specific focus and outlined how each of the representatives that are currently on the council have started more frequent activity with working groups. We're going to hear about those updates. We're still trying to get the hospital healthcare one off the ground, and also the essential supply chain has had one meeting, but we'll get into those in a little bit. Any comments, questions, feedbacks, corrections, typos, suggestions on anything to make this better? Okay. Next one was the March 19th, 2025 federal executive order, achieving efficiency through state and local preparedness, where we use that in the council here to try and get not an exhaustive inventory, but at least a cursory understanding of the types of services, resources, materials from federal partners that different groups have utilized related to cybersecurity, so that depending on how this executive order develops, but if it becomes such that those resources are no longer available, we have at least an idea of the important ones to start and figure out, is there a means within the state of Vermont to fill that gap ourselves? So we at least have that inventory or general understanding. And then Related, we've talked about this a number of times here, but I included it because I think the legislature would be interested. It's more of an state government operational piece, but why not let the council get credit for it? Is the expanding of what we call retainer contracts. So the state of Vermont, specifically Buildings and General Services and the agency Digital Services, has a large pool of IT vendors that have agreed to our terms and conditions and are under contract with us, but for not any specific work. The contract exists to be used on a case-by-case basis. And so think things like you need something in a hurry, this is like the ideal pool, or it's a small effort, you can just put out a quick scope of work to a number of vendors, get responses, and move forward quickly, not necessarily having to complete the full request for proposal process. That has been expanded now so that it's more than just the available to state government, agency digital services, and BGS specifically. Now municipal government can take advantage of that, because in conversations and stuff that I've had with local government, they lack the resources. They don't have contract attorneys. They often don't have even people that are contract experienced, or struggle to even write grants. And when they're in a bind, right, something happens from a cybersecurity event, having a place to go where they can not have to worry about terms and conditions and whether or not a vendor has agreed to anything, hopefully is helpful. So hey, sorry, I paused because I just turned the comments on. I didn't realize a couple of people had already posted comments, and my apologies. I'm just getting caught up. I can't multitask. So I see Adam posted that in this instance, CISA is Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act. So I guess I need to go back, and I think that was in the executive summary portion.
Hey, Sean, it's Adam. It was in the under JT's stuff with the Senate.
Thank you. And then I see the lieutenant colonel. Is the digital something that should be considered for the calendar? May not be direct tie to the council. All right, that's a great question. And I toyed with that. I struggled because a number of council members and interested groups were in attendance, and we had some very good conversations at the digital summit. There was no formal presentation, so I was torn. I don't think there's harm in including it, but I would look to, obviously, Lieutenant Colonel, you think that there's some at least some validity for considering putting it in. I guess I would agree. I don't know what others from the council would think. Like, Erica, were you at the digital summit?
I was not.
No. I'm trying to remember who else was there. I know the Lieutenant Colonel was. I was.
I was more just thinking because it shows a tie between the public-private connection and connecting the two different sectors.
Yeah, I like that. Um, who
Some of
else
those,
was there?
some of the private sector stuff when it comes to critical infrastructure is going to have an impact on some of their cybersecurity could have an impact on the critical infrastructure. So if we don't show that connection, I thought it might be helpful, but
Okay. Um, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I'm looking out the window and there is somebody dressed in a large cartoon character bird outfit prancing across the State House lawn. My apologies. Seriously, squirrel moment. Yeah, I think that merits. I will add that in. At least a couple of council members were in attendance, right? I don't know if I should add anything more to that or just the tie to that. What do you think, Lieutenant Colonel? Should we put just anything else around it or just that was that we were, some folks attended it?
maybe attended the Vermont Digital Summit, comma, bridging connections between private and public sector critical infrastructure, something like that.
Um, oh,
Or building, yeah, there you go. That works.
yeah, and just leave it at that.
That works, I think, yeah.
Yeah, because there was some very good conversations. They were not formal or whatever, but and I will put a plug in for those council members that have not gone that you should consider it. I think it'll probably be again in August of this coming year. It's usually around the middle of August. Thank you. That's a good addition. Any comments, questions before I leave this section again? I'll try to pay attention to the chat.
I just looked it up out of curiosity, and this year it's going to be held on August 4th in South Burlington again.
Okay. Cool. A little earlier. This year was like right around Battle of Bangton, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was that same weekend.
So good. Well, I would encourage folks that to keep an eye on that. And maybe the council should have a more formal presence or presentation there. Or maybe the council members can lead like a cybersecurity roundtable discussion or something. I'll have to give some thought to that. All right. Executive order, IT contracts for municipal use. That should be terms. Anything I missed from council members? Any additional items you would like added into the annual report as for the past year? Other suggested edits? All right.
On one thing real quick, on the
Yes.
executive order paragraph, I think, I don't know, maybe the way the document is titled, but it looks like the order is missing after presidential executive, unless that's just the way the document's titled.
Oh, no, I think you're right. An omission on my part. Interestingly, they don't number them. Or, at least I couldn't find any kind of like numbering sequence for this administration's to reference it, just by date and title.
I think there is one actually.
Oh, okay.
I just looked it up a minute ago. Yeah, it's Executive Order 14239. And it says March, well, so I'm looking at it on the Federal Register, and it says March 18th, 2025. I don't know that.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Although actually there's another part of it that says a document from the Executive Office of the President, March 21st, 2025. So I don't know what's going on there.
I'm gonna go with yours, March 18th then. You said that was on the Federal Register?
Yep.
I remember if I'm remembering correctly, it happened. He signed it like while we were in our March Cybersecurity Advisory Council meeting. It was like, oh, that's an interesting coincidence. Same date, same afternoon. So thank you for getting those for me.
Yep.
I'd been using, at the time, I had taken something from just a White House, almost like a press thing, right? And they hadn't have those details on it. So cool. All right. If there's no others, we'll move along. So for planned activities, right? Just a couple of items this year that seem to warrant inclusion, which is the change in the meeting frequency, but then in essence that we're taking that sector specific approach and applying it to the strategic plan to figure out like what are the actionable next steps. And just tried to summarize like the conversations and stuff that we had around that, kind of pivot to more of a sector focus. Questions, comments, suggestions, edits?
No, I think quarterly is better cadence.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, JT.
And then if I could add one other thing to consider, if we're going to do it quarterly, maybe we can attach one to the digital summit in the summer, and then more people could maybe meet in person.
Oh, I like that. So maybe we consider our next meeting will be April, so we should make that an agenda item for April, that instead of having our July meeting, we hold it, the third meeting will be in August at the Digital Summit, and for those that can make it in person. And for all the guests that can make it in person. That's a really good idea.
Thank you.
Perfect. I don't know if I might not include it in here since we're not definitive on that yet. So, okay. Move to the next section, legislative recommendations. So we included something last year, asking for an amendment to expand the membership we talked about this, I don't know if it was last meeting or a couple meetings ago, right? But expanding the membership specifically to try and get somebody to represent telecommunications or ISPs, a really big critical infrastructure operator, and important to having, kind of end-to-end cyber resilience. And then also, wrong word there. A member from local government. I think government services, while half the council is state employees, and you could argue we represent government services, I don't think we are wrestling with the same challenges that maybe a small municipality in Vermont is. So expanding to include somebody that represents that. I don't know if that's a these or a the. Just explaining kind of the why behind expanding to the 2 additional members. Questions, comments, edits? Okay. I did no changes to the strategic plan. This is as it was written for the 2025 annual report, including the strategies and implementation. That concludes our legislative annual report for 2026. I'm going to stop there, see if there's any last comments, suggestions, edits, questions, concerns before we formally adopt it. Okay. Hearing none, I will need a motion for the council to approve the annual report as edited during this meeting.
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion.
Second.
All right, so I had Erica for the motion. And I'm sorry, who was the second?
Joe.
Joe? Thank you, Joe. All right. A motion in a second. So 4 council members. Oops. Erica, I'll get back to yours once we get through this motion. I just saw your question in the chat. So we have a motion to approve the plan, which also includes submitting it to the legislature. All those on the council either raise your hand, say aye somehow, if you're in support. See a lot of hands up. Excellent. Okay. All those opposed? Say raise your hand or say nay. I'm assuming you're not opposed, Sue. It's just your hand is still up. Because you said yes.
Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you. Just wanted to confirm. All right. Motion carries. I will excuse me, get this submitted to the legislature today. Thank you all. Technically, supposed to have it in at the 15th by statute, but you didn't have a meeting in time, so we're 6 days late. Okay. Let me stop sharing. Let me get back to my presentation. Excuse me. All right. The heavy lift is done for this meeting. Now we get to go around. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I said I'd come back to you, Erica. So Erica, you posted a question about if we have the meeting at the digital summit at all with a quorum. I'm not following. You mean that we may not get enough people to attend if we hold it there?
No, my concern was, can we have that many quorum, that many council members in the same place and interacting outside of a meeting? But you're saying that we just hold a meeting there, right?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. We would formalize it and actually have the third quarterly meeting of 26 there. So it would be appropriately warned and everything else that goes with the open meeting. So it would be the legal meeting. I see what you're saying. If we were all in the same place but not meeting.
Yeah, my concern was, we talked about whether or not the council, or was mentioned whether or not the council would do a round table or something, right? And that was my concern specifically.
Very valid. I will make sure that we don't run amok of our open meeting laws, and whatever we choose to do, we'll have to decide at the April meeting. We will warn to make sure that it's do whatever I have to usually do for warning these meetings. So good call. All right, so sector specific updates. I'm gonna start with Sue. Do you know if Mark joined? I've been trying to monitor and I don't see Mark on.
I don't
Mark.
think I saw him get on.
Mark Brisson, you out there? Nope. Okay. Can you provide an update, at least from our meeting, and kind of like the strategy on the healthcare sector approach?
Yeah, you might have to fill in the blanks, because you remember I left early, but we had a
Yep.
conversation with Mark about the need to get a health care sector activity moving. We discussed some of the possible folks that we would invite to the table. And that's kind of where I left. So I don't know what I saw the follow-up that we got through FBI about recommendations, and I don't know where we've gone past that.
No, we have, so I'll try and fill in. So I agreed. So there's two parts. One was like, okay, how do we get membership from the healthcare space, specifically hospitals, to participate in the work group? I took that on, reached out to Leah and Adam. They've sent to their contacts. We've had some interest. I'm not sure if we have enough yet. We'll have to see. But we also had like the person that you introduced us to, who works both in tech and also like emergency first responder type role.
There was actually two people.
Oh, that's right, two people. So between those two, the one from Addison County that's expressed an interest. Yourself and Mark, we probably have at least the starts of a working group there. And then Mark had some very good ideas on to kind of help get the working group going, how utilizing CISA's, Adam, correct me when I go awry because I can never remember, CPGs, I believe, is cross-sector performance goals. But using that model to kind of develop a path, a roadmap, use your favorite metaphor, for like the smaller hospitals based on UVM's experience on where to invest, like where's the next thing you should work on. If you've got these three things, what should be the fourth thing you work on from a cybersecurity perspective? So we're kind of need to get that kind of kickoff meeting scheduled. I was waiting to get through this meeting and see if we had any other interest from any of the hospitals and stuff. I might reach out to the Vermont Hospital Association to try and see if there's another member or two that way. So that's where we're at on the healthcare front. Wish Mark was here. I'm going to go to Erica next.
Yeah, so the electric utilities have a meeting the beginning of February to all get together and just sort of continue our networking, work on some knowledge sharing between the utilities, and also talk through some potential mutual aid if something like that was possible. Beginning of February, so I should have a report, at least something to update at the next quarterly meeting in April. And then Bill Jordan is working to schedule the annual DPS CyberSec docket, and I believe that'll be this spring sometime.
Yes, hi, this is Bill Jordan. I'm looking at the second half of April and early May. I sent out a doodle poll. I don't have the final results in yet, but expecting the meeting to occur in late April or very early May. This year, we're going to try to do 2 meetings. And so that'll be the spring meeting, and then we'll try to schedule one in the fall as well. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you both. Appreciate that. I was trying to stall because Eric Hillsmith let me know that he was only he had a conflict and was able to join at the halfway point, and I was hoping to get to that, which should be any time now. So, Joe Duncan, that means I'm going to put you on the spot for a wastewater update, if you would be so kind.
Sure. The group continues to meet. We've got a representative from different size wastewater systems around the state. 6, 7 of us. We've invited the A&R to sit on it, both on the water and wastewater side of things. We also have CISA attend with us, and we've also got some other groups that we're trying to have come to those just to kind of share thoughts. So we're in the sort of the gathering of information stage, where the goal is to try to meet every other month. And I think, Sean, as I look at it, I don't know that we actually scheduled something. The 10th of December was when we last met. So we're probably due to meet again in February to get the group together to kind of continue our conversations about where we think we need to go with everything. We were supposed to have a conversation about incident response, but I think can't remember the gentleman's name, was unable to join us. So I think that's our next topic when we do meet.
Yes, it is. That was our CISO. JT had a catastrophic computer failure
That's
like,
right.
the day before.
Yep.
So JT, I will coordinate with you as we look to schedule that February meeting for the water wastewater, so we can pick up that conversation around, good elements of an incident response plan, things like that.
Yeah, that would be great. And I apologize, but I couldn't do anything with it. That machine, the hardware just died. So,
Oh, no apologies. We don't control those things, do we?
so luckily I had enough of it saved on my OneDrive that I don't have to reinvent the wheel to finish the PowerPoint.
Excellent. So, yeah, I made the same realization, Joe, that we did not have the February meeting on the book. So I will look to get that done next week. Get something.
Yeah, no
coordinated,
problem. That's what
reserve
happens.
room.
It's as the holidays approach, it gets more chaotic. No concerns. So that's where we're going with. I guess the other thing to kind of say there too, from a water wastewater perspective, is there are potentially some bills out there that speak to water wastewater cybersecurity, and I'm not sure where they're going, but after this meeting, the plan is to sit down with Sean and Brian Redmond from A&R to talk through what advice to give A&R, and perhaps even have A&R point the direction towards the CAC, towards you, Sean, to help inform the legislators of where things might go in the cyber security realm. So
Yeah, I shared that with our legislative person in the office here and the secretary, but I didn't send it to you, JT. I don't know if you have availability at 3:30, but this is Senate Bill 213, which is, you wouldn't know it. It's like started out supposed to do with smart metering for water systems and to give people the ability to opt out. But yeah, both conversation and the language looks like it's starting to go heavier into cybersecurity, where current language is like puts the responsibility on the Secretary of Natural Resources to come up with like cybersecurity standards and things like that, which is right, not the place to do that. So trying to just understand from their testimony yesterday what's going on. Not sure if you want to be a part of that or not. Let me know.
What day is it?
We're having it right after this, 3:30 today.
I'm sorry, I'm booked for this.
Okay.
Our secretary.
I'll follow up with you then.
yeah, apparently it's last minute because they're looking for stuff on Friday. So
Yeah.
as that world goes. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of the state of things for us. We continue to try and understand that spectrum of needs for our for the water wastewater sector. So hopefully, I think having the incident response piece would be of interest, because I know that's one of the things that we talk about as part of the goals of the CAC, is perhaps have a uniform incident response plan. So be good to hear what the water wastewater sector has to say about what might influence where we go with that.
Yeah, the last meeting, the December meeting, the very end of it was like a real eye opener for me. And it took kind of like that couple of hours of the group talking and stuff between the first couple of meetings and like exploring like what if and everything else. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was the gentleman from Montpelier. Chris, is it?
Yeah, Chris Cox. Yep.
Was like, the reality is, even though like we treat water, wastewater like it's, like they have some sort of autonomy or authority in their area, it was like, yeah, well, unless the municipality wants to prioritize cyber, our hands are tied, right? It was a really, I guess I thought that there was a little bit more authority there to do stuff, and it really resonated with me for a couple of reasons. It reinforced the idea that getting somebody from local government on here on this council so they can start to understand the importance of this, because if the town doesn't think cyber is important, no matter what the employees may think, regardless of what they're doing, they're not going to get the attention to make progress on it. But it also, I'm going to look, a number of us, Ryan, David Kaiser, John, Tony, myself, are involved with a federal grant, state and local cybersecurity grant program. And that explains like maybe why we're not seeing the interest in going after cybersecurity grant monies, is because maybe certain roles within towns don't see the need for it, and therefore, regardless of what maybe certain sectors would want to do, they're hamstrung. And so that just really kind of like, oh, okay, so we could design like the best cybersecurity program in the world, make it free to you, and unless your leadership says it's okay, nobody's going to use it. And that really resonated with me. So an important facet as we try to turn what we've done into like, actionable things to help people.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Eric Hillmuth, did you join yet? No, he's going to join right as soon as I get done talking. So I'll give an update for the Eric's working group, Essential Supply Chain. So Eric was unable to join. We had the first scheduled meeting a week or two ago. I think I saw a number of the individuals that attended that meeting are on today. So thank you for joining. Essential Supply Chain is not a federally designated critical infrastructure sector. It's something that's been added to state statute. And as from using the examples that are in statute and kind of like the other sectors that are not represented on the council, we kind of took like let's cast a broad net to see if we can get participation from the sectors that aren't already represented in the council, to get something started there. And interestingly, again, utilizing CISA and FBI's contacts, we got a number of people that have been interested. Actually kind of a focus more in the financial, banking, insurance, and then also a managed service provider from the technology space. So I think a great different representation that's going to help us start to shape what will be good things to do for in more in the financial area. So that was a preliminary meeting where those that had expressed interest got to kind of get their questions answered. I did an overview of the work of the council to date. And I think I've heard back that all or most or all are going to be willing to participate. So I need to get the next meeting of that set up. So that's where that one is, and that's the last of the working groups. Making notes. All right. Where we're going next? Ooh. Oh, I skipped over mine. Well, I'll go back here. So at the November meeting, when we talked about changing the schedule, and lengthening this meeting so that we had plenty of adequate time to discuss items, one of the things that Eric Foran, member from Public Safety, Vermont Emergency Management, brought up was that there was things that in my role as coordinator, I've gone out and kind of done. You probably saw a number of those. They may have been new to you, listed in the outreach. And so to make sure that there's time at each meeting to go over anything new that I've been doing that is ties to the council, but doesn't necessarily, it has only involved me. Since the report reflected through the end of December, calendar year 25, I haven't done any additional activities other than I continue, I keep talking about the SLCGP, the State and Local Cybersecurity Grant Program. I'm also involved with that, and actually one other council member, Ryan McLiberty, specifically, and I are working. We have not had the interest in utilizing that grant opportunity to improve cyber in local government like we would hope. So for 2026, we're changing our approach. That approach is still under internal review to make sure that everyone in leadership agrees with what we've put forth as a proposal. But the essence of it is to be very targeted. So instead of let's send out an email blast and see who decides to raise their hand and participate, to actually try and pick specific communities for certain reasons, whether it be geography, whether it be industry type, whether it be the type of critical infrastructure the municipality may own, and go and sit down with them and really try and figure out not what people in Montpelier think they might need for improvements to get better at cyber, but where are they at and what do they really need? And a lot of it is based on, I shouldn't say a lot of it, the foundation for a lot of what we're doing is the results of the survey that the council did. That's why there's such a strong tie. And then also using the strategic plan. Elements of the next round of state and local cybersecurity grant program requests will reflect that tiered approach that the council has in the strategic plan. So there's a strong tie, and as things become clearer, there's more opportunities. We will make sure to kind of keep the council updated in how that grant is informing potential improvements based on the work of the council. So I hope I explained that well, and I'm going to look to Ryan to see if there's anything that you would care to add or anything I missed in trying to kind of describe kind of the tie between the two right now.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well. I think in general, the overall objective of that pilot program is just to kind of get a bit more of a direct on the ground sense of where these municipalities are at. And yeah, in terms of instead of trying to sort of dictate what they might need, just kind of have conversations about them, about what their cybersecurity posture looks like already, what resources would be most like helpful to them, how we can make that available. I think that pretty much sums up the overall objective of it.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I'm going to pause there and see if any of the council members have kind of any questions around that or any of the other activities. I'll look to Eric. Is that kind of what you were thinking, right? Making sure that we use this time so that everybody's aware of that, those types of activities?
Yeah, I think that generally covers what I was looking for.
Okay.
Not that we're trying to keep an eye on you, but
No,
we want to understand
it,
the big scope and scheme of what's going on with the advisory board.
Yeah, yes. yeah, I've tried to play a role of like connectivity, right, for different things that are going on, but I have not necessarily always been good about making, even though I talk to people individually and go to these things, not necessarily bringing them all back to the council. So I'm representing the council, but not always. So no, you're keeping an eye on me is a good thing, and so I appreciate it. That's something that I should have done from the beginning. Any other questions folks may have before we move on to the next agenda item? Oh, I got to go back and look at the. Bear with me. I see some comments that I don't want to. Gloss over. All right, sorry folks, I've been get caught up and I'm not keeping track. So Lauren Hebert, hi Lauren. It is okay for a quorum to be in the same place as long as you do not do business of the council. Oh, thank you for that clarification. And that it should have all the elements. So thank you. I appreciate that clarity in the chat. Peter Nelson, I've got a lot of experience and background in performing healthcare security assessments. If the council accepts public volunteers, I'd be willing to volunteer hours. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, we do not have anything constraining membership, so I will add you to be included in that first meeting and to see if it's a good fit. Making a note of that right now. Thank you. And Mike Ma, on to the next thing. K-12 input. Excellent. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I think you might have already gone, but good to know, and I will make a note of that. K-12, Mike Ma. Yeah, I think I'm current on those. All right. Now this is where we open it up to anyone that is not a council member that may have like suggestions, questions, comments, feedback, thoughts, even just an idea you want to share with the council for consideration as the council works on cybersecurity things for the state for critical infrastructure. Is that Adam?
It is.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Sean.
You can go.
Thank you. I was asked to pass along some feedback from a municipality in the Northeast Kingdom who is unable to join today. They, we had a discussion with them and their MSP, and they're unable to afford basic security appliances. They have one firewall for their entire municipality and had to pick the best place to place that firewall, which is unfortunately also outdated. So if there is an ability to build in some funding maybe into that program for hardware that municipalities can use, I think that would be appreciated by that specific municipality. And if you want specifics, we can chat offline. I just didn't have permission to outwardly identify them.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. And I think that we have that both in our strategic plan and also in the next year's SLCGP. Or maybe not.
I would say that that's a common appears to be a common thing that I run into in discussion with these smaller municipalities is wanting to do the right thing, but once you talk about $1,000, $1,100 for a firewall, unfortunately, they do not seem to be able to come up with that money.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for the specifics here. Where that sits. I think it's in the right here. So for those, stop sharing. Share a draft of the updated cybersecurity, the SLCGP cybersecurity guiding plan document. So specifically, Adam, I think, and this is for everyone, right? So if you know a municipality that may qualify for funding through this program, that is something that we have kind of expanded and identified here, right? That often the limiting factor for security of an environment is the age of physical infrastructure. Using that element, we have identified the ability to have projects that will modernize and contingent upon the municipal, right? And I don't know how it says here, right? Cornerstone of this approach to ensure the municipality maintains the replacement of an acceptable life cycle. So that's good to hear that there's interest, because that's one of the things we thought and we've added. But that it's going to be kind of like with the caveat that they don't just buy something, they're current for 1 year and then just slowly degrade again. So does that make sense, Adam?
Yes, that does make sense. And hopefully that by introducing these appliances into their environment and maybe getting them on a refresh schedule every few years, they'll be able to forecast it out more than 3 to 5 years in their budget, rather than being sprung, having a surprise cost sprung on them.
Well, one of the things too was that we've been talking about is that that maybe we only allow them to lease and not do like a capital expense, but to do it as an OpEx. So that way, if they lease, they get used to just spending a fifth of the money annually. And then it's just built into their budget, right? So instead of having to do that sawtooth of a capital expenditure, use it, and then another capital expenditure to try and level it out. So good to know. I would like to learn more about who that community is to see if something like leases versus buying is palatable to them.
Absolutely, and I think they would be more than willing to chat with you, Sean. So I can put you in contact with their town manager and go from there.
Okay, I'd be curious if it aligns with some of our targeted outreach. Other feedback, thoughts, questions, comments from non-council members? Hearing none, I'm going to one last call, open discussion. Anything council members or public want to bring up about anything related to the work of the council? Now is the time to ask.
John, not about the work of the council, but I had sent over that new proposed legislation to add new members to the council. 560, I think it is, H560. My question
Yes.
is, I wander around that building all the time, and someone might ask me, do I support the addition of those two people? So I'm just curious what our vision from the board would be.
From the ADS perspective, I think they're going, the mindset is that, well, that might be the trade-off to get it to expand to also include like internet service providers, telecom, and local. So not really a thumbs up, thumbs down, but if over the course of negotiations, that's how it works out, then that's how it works out.
Okay.
Neutral, how's that?
I like the word negotiation. Everything in that building is a negotiation.
Yes, sir. Absolutely is. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I will need a motion from one of the council members to adjourn and a second, and then we will wrap today's meeting up.
Motion to adjourn, Eric VM.
Second, Erica Furland.
Excellent. All right, we have a motion for the council members. All those in favor, either raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
To adjourn.
I,
Excellent. All those opposed, say nay. Guys have it, carries unanimously. That puts an end to the meeting 13, for the Cybersecurity Advisory Council, the first one for 2026. Thank you all. I will get our report submitted today.
Thanks, Sean. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
thanks, Sean. See you at 3:30.
Yes, sir.
I invited Liz Royer as well, since she testified yesterday. So,
Okay.
all right, so.